Good Thursday evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Emily Walls. We had an absolutely stunning day here in the Chicagoland area. We had temperatures topping out in the mid to upper 70s for a lot of us, which, by the way, a couple of degrees cooler than what's considered to be average. But again, it was feeling really good. We had low humidity. And also today's Thursday, which means the latest drought monitor came out. And for us locally, it was actually a really good update for us. And that's something that we really haven't been able to say in quite some time. So all of that heavy rain that we picked up earlier this week and this past weekend, it actually made a pretty big difference. I'll show you that on your drought monitor coming up. And then also we're going to be checking in on Hurricane Erin. We do have a report for you coming out of North Carolina's Outer Banks. And then after that, we're going to be talking about our temperatures in the next couple of days. They're likely going to be rebounding into the 80s, which, by the way, that's where we should be for this time of the year. But then next week, we are still really eyeing up a pretty big cool down that's going to be here. It is straight up going to be feeling like fall next week. We have high temperatures in the 70s. And your low temperatures in some locations are actually going to be dropping down into the 40s. So a pretty big change going into next week. Let's first talk about the drought monitor here. Again, all of this data came out this morning. This takes place every Thursday morning. We get the update. And you'll notice that the worst of it is still across the western United States. So if we zoom things in over that way, this is where, of course, we have a lot of ongoing wildfires because of the drought-like conditions. In the Vegas area, we have extreme and severe drought status along the Arizona, New Mexico border. That's where we're seeing exceptional drought, severe drought a little ways north of there in upstate Arizona and New Mexico. And then in portions of Colorado, the whole western half of the state is dealing with either exceptional or extreme drought conditions. So we could really use some help out in the water department out west, but here locally, again, things have been getting a little bit better. In Michigan specifically, we haven't seen a ton of improvements, especially in the Bay region stretching off toward the western side of the state. You can see that tan shading, the orange that's showing up near Saginaw, near the Saginaw Bay. That's still a severe drought. And then in places like northern Indiana and then further downstate in Illinois, we still have a moderate drought status that's been listed there. But in the immediate Chicagoland area, take a look at this map. It looks so much better than what we've been seeing for the last several months. You'll notice most of the area, it's not highlighted in any sort of color. That's wonderful news. That's what we want to see. That means we're not considered to be abnormally dry. That means we're not in a drought. And right now, the areas that we do have highlighted in yellow, which stretches into Lake County in northeastern Illinois, over into DeKalb County and then LaSalle County. We also have a section of abnormally dry conditions in the south side of Cook County into eastern Will County and then Lake County, Indiana. But again, this is a huge improvement from where we have been previously. Last week, we were still dealing with severe drought, or I should say moderate drought in some portions of the area, especially over the Whiting area. But if you think back to Monday and then this past weekend, portions of the area actually picked up 7 to 10 inches of rainfall. Yes, a lot of that ended up turning into runoff. It ran off to our streets, our creeks, our rivers, the lake. But with that much rain, a lot of that was able to finally soak into the ground. So again, we did see a pretty big difference here when it came to the drought monitor. A wonderful update there for our lawns, the farmers, and everyone has a garden. All right, let's take a look at the percentage of normal rainfall in the last 365 days. So over the past year, all locations here that you see highlighted in yellow mean that we are pretty close, but a little ways behind what's considered to be average. So you'll notice the northwest suburbs around 80% of normal. And then if you get closer to the city, that's when we've picked up a little bit more. So right now, the city of Chicago is running at about 105% of normal rainfall / snow over the last 365 days. And actually in southern Lake County, northern Newton and Jasper counties, you see that little shading of green here. Let me go ahead and circle it with my cursor here. The green shading that you're seeing here, that's actually in excess of 100%. So we have 107% of our normal rainfall / snowfall in the last year. But if you compare that to the last month, as we all know, it has been a very soggy month. We've had torrential downpours just round after round. So take a look at how those numbers have changed. So if you compare over the past year, a lot of us are pretty on target. But in the last month, we are way above average in several locations, especially all locations that you see here highlighted in purple. That's representing 200 to 300% of normal rainfall. So yes, if you've been thinking that it's been very soggy lately, it sure has been. All right, let's bounce down to the tropics. Previously today, we talked with Chelsea Torres, and she was in the Outer Banks giving us a report. Let's listen in.
Hurricane Erin is now a Category 2 storm just over 250 miles off the coast of North Carolina.
But it's making the biggest impact today along the Outer Banks. That's where we find Chelsea Torres in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. What has been the biggest change you've seen today?
Man, Terrence, Dawn, you guys came at the perfect time. This has really been the biggest change, especially right now. A lot of these winds that have kicked up today compared to yesterday were bringing some of that loose sand and pelting you in the face. Now that's died down a bit, and where we're at is we're starting to see the high tide. This is supposed to be the biggest high tide for the entire Erin event. So if there's any coastal flooding that's going to be happening, it's going to be happening here in the next few hours, mainly on Hatteras Island, which is about an hour south, and they've already seen their major roadway already inundated with water. So it's really interesting to see what will happen, but you can already tell how high this is coming up. Check out all the sea foam. Terrence, Dawn, again, I have plenty of cold foam for the entire family if you guys need some for your coffees. But even seeing how high it's been getting to the dunes, all into that vegetation, how high it got up on my legs right here. I mean, this is just below my waist, and you can see all the foam. But the surf itself is just churning up so incredibly because there's so much energy right now in this surf. You can see how intense these waves are, even about a quarter mile out, probably further, of just how high it is. And even with those intense winds and the waves themselves, you can see the mist kind of flying. It's been an incredible sight to see. We've been talking to people all day about what they've seen and what they believe is going to really be happening as Erin is impacting this coastline.
I think it'll be okay, but the flooding, it's such a little island, very narrow, and it don't take but a few big waves like something like this. Now the waves are going to be bigger further south you go. They're going to be much, much bigger.
And we've been seeing about 10 to 20 foot waves along the Outer Banks. Absolutely incredible. And Terrence, Dawn, what we know about Erin right now is that she's nearly the size of Texas, well over 760 miles. That's from cloud to cloud, east to west. And then, of course, we have this tide just coming in. Absolutely amazing to see these kinds of impacts when Erin is well over 200 miles offshore. Guys, back to you.
You know, and another interesting fact that I was reading about is because of the new moon that we have coinciding with Hurricane Erin moving its way along the coast there, the tide is actually even higher because of that full moon. So the new moon is pulling in an additional 1 to 3 inches of water on average when it's coming to the storm surge, and many locations along the coast have been seeing, at least in the Outer Banks, up to 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. Let's take a look at where Erin is right now. So you can see it just churning away, following the east coast. Right now it has 100-mile-per-hour sustained winds, and that's putting this as a Category 2 storm. And look at the wave height, so impressive around the eye of that storm, especially on the eastern and the northern side of that. That's typically where you have the highest waves. You can see about 45-foot waves along with this storm, but closer to the shore, of course, and thankfully, those waves are not nearly as high. But as you were just hearing from Chelsea Torres, right along the Outer Banks, at times, they've been seeing up to 20 feet swells. So huge waves that are enough to overwhelm some of those barrier islands. So that's why places along the Outer Banks of North Carolina were some of the hardest hit, just because, one, they're farther out from the coast, so those waves are going to be a little bit bigger, but also their height is just barely above sea surface elevation. So that's why those are very easily becoming overwhelmed. Now, notice here on the wave heights, looking to the north now. So I've dragged this map up toward New York, excuse me, New York, Connecticut, places like Massachusetts, and you can still very easily see that currently wave heights are as high as about 10 to 13 feet, which of course can be leading to coastal flooding. So for that reason, there are coastal flood warnings remaining in effect into this upcoming weekend. Let's take a look at the path of Erin, where this thing is headed. Can you believe that this is going to continue on, likely at hurricane strength, all the way through the end of this upcoming weekend, if not into early next week? And you'll notice just a couple hundred miles west of Ireland, Erin is still likely going to be a tropical storm. So this thing is just going to keep on going for the next almost week or so. All right, sliding things to the south, there is one more area that we're a little concerned about here. You can see that the National Hurricane Center has it highlighted in red, and this is representing an 80% chance of tropical cyclone development within the next 7 days. But actually, it's looking like this may happen by the time we go into this upcoming weekend, just north or near the Leeward Islands. So this area highlighted in red here is going to be on high alert for the potential of another tropical storm developing. Coming up right after this break, I'm going to have details on our cool down that'll be here next week. It's going to be feeling good. Those details coming up. Welcome back. The next couple of days around here, we're going to be heating things back up into the 80s, which, by the way, is normal for this time of the year. This is where we should be for mid to late August in the lower 80s. We're going to be at 84 degrees on Friday, same thing on Saturday. But then on Saturday, we actually have a cold front that's going to come through that may touch off a couple isolated showers. But the overall picture for Saturday looks mainly dry for a lot of us. But then notice by Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, much cooler air is going to be building in. So temperatures are down to about 75 degrees on Sunday, Monday 71. And then looking beyond the next 5 days, this is your temperature outlook from Wednesday through the following Sunday of next week. And we are still strongly favored to see below average conditions. So those cooler temperatures, they are going to arrive early next week, and it looks as though they're going to be lingering for the majority, if not all, of next week. For tonight, 64 degrees in the city, but away from the city, especially farther inland, very easily dropping down to the mid to upper 50s. And with that, I think we could be dealing with areas of patchy, dense fog developing. So kind of build that into your morning commute, that it may be taking a little bit longer than usual tomorrow. Your 3-day forecast tomorrow, 84 degrees, partly cloudy conditions, 84 again on Saturday. Again, a very small chance for a stray isolated rain shower or two. Most areas end up staying dry. And then on Sunday, it's going to feel fantastic. The humidity is going to be down. We'll have full-on sunshine, and your high temperatures are going to be 75 degrees. Something that you may be surprised by is how cold the low temperatures are going to get. I'll show you that in your 7-day forecast coming up on the news at 9 p.m.